When GMRS started taking off as a popular radio service, many of the new GMRS radios were essentially repurposed ham radios. This year, that trend has reversed in a couple of cases where very popular GMRS handsets were repurposed as ham radios. Go figure. Actually, converting a popular radio in terms of feature set and style makes a lot of sense. In this review, we'll be looking at the Wouxun KG-935H, which made its debut as a GMRS radio a couple of years ago. It was released as a ham radio early in 2025 and has been getting some really good press. I need to let you know that BuyTwoWayRadios.com provided this KG-935H. They don't get a preview of the review, and the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Most of Wouxun's radios are not budget-class radios. Wouxun enjoys a reputation for building solid radios with expanded feature sets, especially in the ham market where features aren't as limited by the FCC as with the GMRS market. You can expect your Wouxun radio to have a clean signal across the ammeter bands and power output measurements close to what's advertised. I've got a KG-UV9D Mate, KG-Q10H, and KG-S88G GMRS HT, so I've got some experience with the brand. In my opinion, the extra cost is offset by the overall quality of the radios. Obviously, value is a personal decision, but don't let a few extra dollars scare you off. As with most of my reviews, let's start off with a few features that caught my eye. The Buy Two Way Radio sales page lists over 50 features for the KG-935H, and I'm not going to go over all of them. Just a couple that I think set this radio apart. First, the radio has an IP66 ingress protection score. That means it's dust tight and can withstand fairly high pressure jets of water for several minutes. It's not submersible, but the IP66 score is a high level of ingress protection. Next, the radio has 2 VFOs. Unlike budget-class radios that can monitor 2 frequencies but will only pass one to the speaker, the KG-935H can monitor 2 frequencies and transmit on one while listening to the other. This capability results in a couple of related features. First, you can use this radio to chase ammeter satellites. Most of these satellites have an uplink in one band and a downlink in the other. With 2 VFOs, you can set both to the uplink and downlink frequencies, and you can hear when you're getting into the satellite. Second, you can set up the radio as a crossband repeater. This allows you to set up a repeater for special events or circumstances. You can have a 2-meter output and 70-centimeter input, or vice versa. When using an elevated antenna, you can cover a much broader area for things like keeping your hunting party connected or supporting a community event such as a 5K run or something similar. Keep in mind the impact of duty cycle on the radio. This will work fine for low-volume communications. Another feature I find compelling is that it is both tri-power and tri-band. You can set the power to high, medium, or low, and can transmit on the 1.25 meter, 2 meter, and 70-centimeter bands. As we'll see in the unboxing clip, the radio can be charged directly with a USB-C cable connected to any USB output or in its included desktop charger. This makes the radio easy to take along with you as your everyday carry HT, as you can keep it powered up with a USB outlet in your vehicle. Speaking of keeping it powered up, it comes with a 2600 milliamp hour battery that should keep it going for many hours. Last in this abbreviated feature list is the radio comes with 10 screen themes. These come with differing background colors and associated font colors. You can choose the one that fits your mood or outdoor brightness level. Before we jump into the unboxing and detailed tours of the radio, please click the like button and consider subscribing to the Gadget Talk channel. Likes, comments, and subscriptions all help show YouTube that this content is valuable and needs to be presented to other like-minded people. There's also a join button below the video where you can learn about becoming a channel member and a thanks button to make a one-time contribution to support what we do here. I really appreciate it. Oh, and be sure to check out the affiliate links in the description below. Let's change cameras and go through what comes in the box and what the radio and radio controls look like. So here's the box that the KG-935H comes in. Let's take a look and see what we find inside. So here's the owner's manual for the KG-935, and this is the case with most of these Wouxun radios. They do a really good job with their owner's manual or user's manual, as it says here. The font is a little bit bigger, so it's easier to read, especially for some of us older people who eyes aren't as good as they were when they were 20, and so that is always a crowd pleaser. But it discusses the various things to operate. It's got drawings, it's got frequency bands, all of that stuff is here. Plus, it has some really pretty good instruction on using some of the advanced features of this, to include the crossband repeat that is built into this particular radio. So all of the menus are described and discussed, and it tells you what the choices are and what those things will do. So a very nice user manual. This is not a typical budget class radio. It's got a lot of features in it, and so it's excellent that the Wouxun brand builds a user manual, especially for those of you who are graduating from a budget class radio to one with more features and so forth, to help explain to you what the radio will do. And so it comes with a charging setup. It's got a desktop charger with a round barrel connector there. Here is the wall wart that comes with it. This has a 12-volt output, so there's some voltage changing here, or the circuitry is such that it'll deal with the other than the USB-C level of voltage. So that's a primary charge device if you like desktop charging. Of course, the radio also has a USB-C connector on the back of the battery that I'll show you here in a minute, and you just use a typical USB-C cable. Now, I've been playing with this for a little bit, and I frankly don't remember whether the USB-C cable with it or not, but I've got a million of them laying around, and so this is an exemplar of just a USB-C cable with an A on one side and a C on the other. Now, in terms of keeping the radio safe while you've got it along with you, it comes with a lanyard for those of you who like wrist straps. I tend to put them on, don't always use them, but sometimes it's nice to have it where you can slip your arm through there and have the radio secure to you. And then, of course, there's a belt clip and a couple of tiny little screws that you're not going to want to lose here in this little plastic bag. And the belt clip then attaches to the radio, not to the radio's battery. So that's our security aspects for the radio. Now, this antenna is a little different than many of the ones that you're used to seeing. It has a heavy-duty base. There's probably a coil buried in there, a knurled end, and then the description of where it works is right here inside there. And so it covers a bunch of bands that you normally don't find. And so it's a tri-band radio. And so if you follow along up here, you can see there's a little detent that happens here. And then there is another little connector right here. Let me zoom in on that. And then a little curly Q or a little spiraled wire that goes up into the end. So this is not the typical dual band antenna that comes with a lot of radios. This is a tri-band radio, as I said. Looks like we've got a nice tri-band antenna. So let's do a power off tour of the radio while we're at it. Oh, we've got a screen protector here. We'll get that off there. Very nice. Okay. And so we've got it labeled. We've got the screen, speaker, the various buttons. The buttons in this case have shortcuts to the various menu items, not letters. We've got the menu and exit here, the up and down here on the front. The dual receive is on a button. The mode is on the button areas, and exit along this side right here. Now, if we rotate it, we've got the push to talk, side key 1, side key 2 over here. There are the holes for the belt clip right there, the Wouxun battery, and then the USB-C input for the battery is there, along with an LED that shows you the status of the charge. Over here, we have got the K1 connector, and notice it screws on, and that's to provide a little bit of extra protection for the radio. So that's a little different. It just doesn't fold on, but it screws on, which means you'll need that screwdriver. But again, how often do you go in there unless you're using a wired mic? On the top, we've got a bunch of stuff crammed here on the top. We've got a couple little LED indicator lights for transmitting and receive. We've got the flashlight they've managed to mount in there. Here's the SMA for the antenna. Notice it's the plug or male side. Here, there's a little loop right here for the lanyard channel changing here, and you can make some menu selections using this ratcheted knob. That's one of the indicators that it's not a budget class radio. It's got this extra knob here on the top, and then the on-off button right over here. So that's a quick overview of the exterior of the KG-935H. Now, let's turn the radio on and do a power-on tour of the KG-935H. Turn this on. Okay, so we've got it all turned on. And the first thing you're going to note that we've got some colors here. And we've got a number of styles that we can put on here with various color combinations. This is, I think, black 2. And it's a color combination that I like. Now, I've had this one and been playing with it, so I've done some programming in it. So you're going to see names and frequencies and so forth as we work through this tour. As we look on the front, we can see I've added my name to that top bar across there, or my call sign. You can see the battery is there. We've got the speaker, we've got wide and minus, which is the bandwidth and the shift differential for this ham radio frequency. I've got it set to name instead of frequency, and so that's what we have here. And if we push the TDR, you can see that the second register or the second area turns down. So now it's just single band radio, whatever you've got set here in the top. And again, using the CPS, I put my name on the bottom. So we've got that there. If we press mode, I'm now in frequency mode, and I can enter frequencies in. Another channel mode, which just gives me the big letters in the large font size for the channel mode. And then this one gives me the channel mode with just the frequency. I do better with names than I do with numbers, and so I've got it normally set to names instead of numbers. So that's a quick overview of the main buttons here on the front. Let's go into the menu and look at there for a minute. So with the menus, we see that that upper area or register disappears. And unlike some of the radios that you're seeing out now, where the menus have been subdivided, this one remains as a radio with the menu items just listed. And I believe, let's check. So if we go down from squelch, which is item number 1, we get to reset. And so there are 65 various menus here. So if we work down these menus, I'm going to turn my volume down here. We can set our FM radio memories, power on messages, timers, repeater tones if you've got this in crossband mode. And so a lot of the things you're used to seeing here. And so the repeater speaker, the repeater PTT, the compander, which is one of the items that Wouxun has on a lot of its radios. We can delete channel, add channel, and all of the things that you're used to dealing with here. Since this is a more advanced radio, I'm going to assume you know what those menu items are, as opposed to working and explaining through all of them. But as you can see, we can set the PF keys, the side keys over here, tell it what kind of battery it has, Fox, timeout timer, timeout alarm, Roger step. It's got a weather alert, and as some of us here in the United States have seen the terrible flooding in Texas that's occurred just a week or two before I'm recording this, the Notify gives you the weather service alerts as opposed to just the ongoing forecast. And then we can work our way through with the various channel things and the other items that you'll need to program from the front of the radio. So I'm going to get out of the menu here at that point. You can certainly program channels from the faceplate of the radio. I prefer to use a CPS. It allows me to use a larger keyboard rather than trying to use my fat fingers on all these little buttons. But again, that's a matter of personal preference. So you can see here I have connected the antenna, and I wanted to do that as I demonstrated here, the side key programming. There's a lot of choices. You can make them in the menus, and you can make them in the CPS. But I'll just give you an idea of how these things work. So on side key number 1, a short press turns on the flashlight. Another press turns it off. A long press on side key number 1.
Southwest 5 to 10 miles per hour in the afternoon.
Goes into the weather mode, and that's the weather channel for the Phoenix area. A long press will turn that off. On the lower key, it's programmed with things I'll probably change, but a short press goes into monitor mode, so it brings the squelch to 0. And a long press. And so if you look up here, you can see that the FM channel that's selected is on, and right now it's on something that's not transmitting, so you can just hear the static that's on there. Another long press will go there. So that's the side key programming. And again, like with most radios, you're going to have some choices you can make with the side keys. So that's a quick power on tour of this KG-935H. The radio is advertised as an 8-watt radio. Let's move over to the power meter and see what we get. So I've got the Wouxun KG-935 connected to my MFJ874. I've got the power level set at the 20-watt level, you see. And so we'll be reading the power output on the second arc from the bottom. On this radio, I'm going to go through the 3 settings and see what we get. So right now I'm in the 2 meter range, and I'm on high power. So let's see what we get. High power looks to be about 7.1, 7.2 watts. Let's make a change, go to medium. So now on medium power, the 935H looks like about 4.7 watts. And we'll drop down to low. So low power. And then on the second arc, it looks like it's about, 1.3, 1.4 watts. So that's the power output on 2 meters. Let's switch things up to the 70 centimeter band. So 70 centimeters, high power. Again, second arc. Looks like about 6.8, 6.9. We'll make a power change. On medium power, about 3.8. And on low power, 70 centimeters, right at 1 watt. So now let's check on the 1.25 meter range, again high power, and see what we get here. About 4.5 watts, reading on that second arc from the bottom. Now with medium power, about 2.2 watts. And with low power on 220, about 1.1 watts. So that's the power output range for this KG-935H. At this point, we need to connect the 935H up to my tiny SA Ultra and take a look at signal quality. So here I've got the 935H connected to my tiny SA Ultra. I've got 40 dB of attenuation there, and I'm using the mid power since I don't want to go too high with the input into the tiny SA. I've got this set up to measure harmonics. The little blue line represents 16.02 or a negative 16.02, which is the same as that 25 microwatts that the harmonics that may exist need to be below. So I've got this all set up to go. We're down here, 146.5 is where our fundamentals should show, and then if we have harmonics, they'll be within the little vertical lines there, and just dirty signals show up anywhere. So let's press to talk and see what we get here. We'll let the tiny essay work through the system a couple of times. You might be able to see it scrolling down here. And so some of these have gone down now. So we see that they're all 40 below, 45, 46, 48 below the fundamental here. And then they're all below that blue line. So this one passes the test, as you'd expect from a more expensive radio, as these Wouxun radios are. So, clean radio. Let's wrap this up with a couple of comments and screenshots of the factory CPS. The Wouxun CPS is a basic CPS giving you the ability to add channels and select the various menu items using your computer instead of the radio's faceplate programming process. I find using a CPS, especially for initial programming, to be the best choice. When initial programming the KG-935H, I used the factory CPS and spent about 45 minutes adding channels and making choices. Now, basically because of my own fault, just about the time I went for the save button, the program crashed and poof, everything disappeared. Not good. I decided this was the perfect time to use Chirp, so for round 2, I used the query source and stock configuration functions in Chirp. I was able to add the local repeaters I wanted in all 3 bands, GMRS and merge channels, as well as review and change the radio settings in about 10 minutes. With the changes written to the radio, I opened the factory CPS again and read the radio into it. It worked well, and all the chirp changes and channels were now in the factory CPS too. I saved those files so I'm covered if I mess something up later. Channel management in Chirp is considerably easier than in most factory CPSs. What I'm not a fan of in Chirp is the settings display. I'm a bigger fan of the factory CPS settings displays where the choices are much visually closer together. Oh well, like the song says, you can't always get what you want. All in all, the clean signal, expanded feature set, and overall build quality makes the Wouxun KG-935H a tri-band HT that you should be considering if you're in the market for a new or additional ham HT. The folks at BuyTwoWayRadios.com have been very responsive when I've needed help, and they have a very active YouTube presence with podcasts on radio-related topics and, of course, discussing their products. As I close things up, I want to circle back to the Wouxun User's Manual. It's over 100 pages of larger type fonts than many user manuals. It does a good job of explaining various menu items and functions. If you're considering the KG-935H as your first ham HT, you'll be just fine. With a comprehensive manual and lots of YouTube reviews like this one, you'll be up and running in no time. Don't forget, there's likely a ham club close by with lots of folks who'd love to help you as a new ham programming their radio. I hope you found this video helpful. Join me over here for a couple of my other Wouxun radio reviews. Again, be sure to click the like button and subscribe with the notification bell on. Thanks for watching, and 73.